Ian, I know this doesn't really matter to you, but I just want to tell you that you're looking very handsome this morning. Well, it's my morning.
Well, thank you. That's the trick of cameras. That's how I got.
Why are you looking away from me?
Because I kept
to me.
Worse,
there we go.
I'm looking at myself because you said I look good, so I'm not looking at you there. I'm looking at myself in the.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what you are? You're a vain bastard.
Shh. Not now. Not now. Don't interrupt the magic. Anyway, thank you. Yes. I don't know how we got away with it, really. I don't know how I got away with being chosen to be on camera. It wasn't for me looks. You know.
Well, okay, I want to tell you, because we don't know each other that well, and I've heard the story about how you got the job, but I've not ever heard it from you.
Okay.
And it just so happens that we are now getting lots of comments from people all over the world, like proper paragraphs,
yeah, that makes sense, really.
And they're asking, a lot of them are asking, how did we get the job?
Hi, I'm Ian.
I'm Justine.
Back in the 90s, we hosted Lonely Planet,
also known as Globe Trekker or Pilot Guides. Now we're back.
Welcome to our Loony Planet with Ian
and Justine.
Yeehaw! Woohoo!
First, let's just tell people the job that we got is even better than you can imagine. Like you're all thinking, oh, they got paid to travel. No. Our shoots were almost a month long. And, you know, back in the day when people were doing travel shows like Rough Guide and stuff, their shoots were 3, 4, maybe 5 days.
Yeah. And all scripted and all set up, smoothly.
The other shows are scripted.
Yeah, and set up so you just turn up, do a piece and then go. Ours was mayhem.
Got any stabilisers?
The mad thing is, like you said, people want to know how we got. I don't know nothing about you, really, and I'm rubbish at looking up things on there. So, you know.
You haven't read my Wikipedia page.
I haven't. No, God, no, of course not.
Have you seen any of my films?
Can I just say, when you said about actors and that, I have seen you in that advert in the supermarket, which is fucking hilarious.
Now one of the nice things about coming into Stop and Shop is checking out a Stop and Shop. With easy out checkout. It's time to Stop and Shop.
Oh man,
the Stop and Shop commercials.
It's just brilliant. Oh, and I've seen little snippets and things like that. I've seen the film that you made, The Provinces, as well. I eventually got my ass off and done that, which is...
Yeah, in the Stop and Shop commercials, all I can see is the really bad perm that I got, like trying desperately to grow out.
It's shocking. And a film as well. I saw bits of the film. I recognised the main actor in this, so it was quite a big film.
James Spader.
Yeah, that's it.
Storyville.
Yeah. Now, I've been thinking long and hard about this, and it hasn't been an easy decision. And I'd like to get your reaction.
Well, what is it?
Well, I've decided to go with the convertible.
Oh, the convertible.
Yeah. In the Calypso red, with the anthracite interior, and an electric top, and also a phone.
Telephone.
Because I was thinking, what do I need a phone in my car for? But then I realized, hey, when you win the election, it's really going to come in handy.
Well, that makes sense to me, sweetheart.
So that just really cracks me up. You go first then, because we knew we'd come to this point eventually. So you crack on. Tell me how the hell, and if anything in your past actually measures up to how you got the job. I mean, I can sort of see a vague strain, you know, because you don't know where it's going. It's sliding doors. It could go anywhere. So did you have any aspirations on being on telly, being a presenter for a travel show ever?
Well, you know, people say, oh my God, you're so lucky you got that job. And I heard a great thing. So I repeated that great thing. And I said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In a way, like if something about my life sort of led directly to something like Globe Trekker, I think because my family came to the United States from South Africa when I was 3.5, my mother knew nobody in this country. I had a sense of there being other places. You know, we went back to South Africa to be with family from time to time. And we had family visit us from South Africa, from Australia, from Canada. And so I had a sense that there was this world and all these accents. And then I lived in Berkeley, which was a place that was very receptive to, all races. You know, Berkeley was really into having people from all over the world living here. And so our schools were public schools, but every class was bilingual. My sister was in a bilingual English-Chinese class. I was bilingual Spanish class. So I was surrounded by people speaking Spanish. My mother's boyfriend, when I was growing up, Freddie, was gorgeous, the loveliest man I'd ever met. And he spoke French. And I just remembered thinking, that is magic. Like, il peut parler en français et son voix, c'est vraiment, and I would listen to him speak French, and I'd listen to the people in my class speak Spanish. I thought that if there's one thing I learned how to do in my life, I want to learn how to speak another language. And I was also like super curious. My mother's very curious. My mother just has this way of just getting people to tell their story because she's so interested in every detail. She wants to see it. She's like a filmmaker. She wants to see everything that's happening. And I grew up with a mom who was like that, you know? And so I thought I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. And I found like, well, you know, not everybody wants to tell you their story, Justine, but I will try. And so then I decided I wanted to be an actress. And from the age 11 to 30, that was my whole life. Every day after school, I went to ACT in San Francisco, American Conservatory Theater, from age 11 to 17.
Wow,
Every
really?
summer I did theater. I was, and then we didn't grow up with much money. So I was also trying to get commercials and stuff. And,
Did you learn another language at this point?
J'ai appris le français parce que
When you were young?
You had to take 2 years of language in high school when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I was the worst student. French was just an awful experience for me. It was like math. It was just like math. I couldn't do it.
Language. I took French.
Tu parles français alors?
Fuck, no, not a chance. What's it? If you speak 4 languages, you're quadlingual. If you speak 1 language, you're English. That's the way it is, I'm afraid.
Well, that's how I learned French too. It was very kind of math, and it was disjointed, and I actually just couldn't do it. But I had to take 2 years in college, so I took another 2 years of French in college, and then I fell in love with a Frenchman. Frenchman. I mean, we were both kids. We were 22.
Yeah, well.
Laurent Pierre François Dubost. And so I knew I was moving to Paris.
I'm getting a bit hot when you say that.
Yeah, I'll do it again. Laurent Pierre François Dubost.
Ooh, was that lucky man?
Yeah. Yeah. So I knew I was moving to Paris to be with him. Okay. We were totally in love.
Cool.
We would send each other, because the phones were so expensive, we would record cassette tapes and send them to each other and write letters. Yeah. It was lovely. Anyway, so I got to Paris, and I'll tell you how I got to Globe Trekker, actually, because it goes through France. So after college, I worked at a restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts called La Carta, and there were these 2 regulars that came, and they worked in a map store. There was a map store in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Cool.
All maps, just maps.
What
it was the most extraordinary store you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the owner and the guy who worked with him, they'd come to La Carta frequently. And I said to them, I'm moving to Paris because I fell in love. And they said, oh, you should meet my friend Leslie Weiner when you're in Paris. Look her up. So I got to Paris and I looked her up. And turned out she was a producer. So she got me work doing voiceovers, corporate commercial films that she was making, corporates, they called it. Anyway, I spent 2 years in Paris. I studied with Philippe Gaulier, he was a theater teacher from the École Jacques Lecoq.
If you want to make theater, you need this special, beautiful pleasure. It's possible to be sad, even to die with pleasure.
Boring.
Philippe Gaulier was the inspiration for the Théâtre de Complicité. which was one of the most important theater groups ever.
Yeah, physical theater and everything.
Yeah, Philippe Gaulier was amazing. And so I studied with him for 2 years.
That's cool.
And it was extraordinary. And then I knew I wanted to leave Paris. I wanted to pursue my acting career. People said, well, you could go to New York and try and do theater, but you're going to have to wait lots of tables. It's really expensive there. And there's not much film or television there. You know, you're kind of attractive. Why don't you go to LA? Maybe you could make some money with your looks. So I went to LA and I, met with some agents and they were like, Shapiro, it's a very Jewish name. Why don't you use your middle name, Arlen? Maybe get a nose job and a tit job. And I mean, this was really what I heard. So
really?
Oh yeah,
a
lose
nose
10
job.
pounds.
What? Reduce it or make it even bigger?
I have a little hooky here thing, and they wanted it to go up.
That's fantastic.
Anyway,
and boots,
so that was
like out here or something, like basketballs.
Oh yeah, like when I would walk into auditions, I would see that the casting director's eyes would start at my chest and then move up to my face. I mean, this was Hollywood. Yeah, right. The casting director would go from tits to nose. Right. Yeah. So that was 1989 to 1993.
Wow. So how successful were you?
Well, I wasn't that successful.
Okay.
I kept a notebook of all the auditions I did for commercials. And I kept a notebook of all the auditions I did for TV and film. Yeah. I did about 400 auditions for TV and film, including callbacks. Yeah. And that was back in the day where you drove to every audition. There was none of this online stuff. Okay. And LA was vast.
Yeah.
There would be auditions in Santa Monica, then there'd be in downtown LA, there'd be up in, and I think I booked 2 or 3 commercials out of 600 auditions and 3 or 4 TV film things out of 400 auditions.
You feel better, Patty? You like a beer?
No.
Like to talk?
So that was 1989 to 1993. But I had some good experiences.
We are projecting an overwhelming victory in the 8th Congressional District for Democrat Cray Fowler. With the recent withdrawal of Republican candidate Alan Hoxton, Fowler went into Election Day virtually unopposed.
Washington, Uncle Clifford.
96% of the vote.
Oh,
Hollister, only 3%.
Yeah, congratulations.
We'll go now to Cyril Pond,
We better get downtown.
But it was, I learned a lot. And what I learned is I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want some white guy telling me to be happier or smilier or that I should lose more weight or this. I knew I didn't want to be in that world. You have to understand, I was Justine the actress to everyone in my life from age 11 to 30. Whether I was successful or not successful, good or not good, that was my identity.
Yeah, okay.
And I never imagined I could break from it. It felt like it would be breaking the whole world, Like you're so attached to this identity and everything around you and everyone. It's like this edifice. You can't even imagine breaking it down.
And in your brain, you're like, why should I? This is who I am. But you did.
Yeah, right.
Because if you're saying you did all that to 30, you must have got the Lonely Planet job at about 30.
Yeah, I got to that point when I was, about 29. Things were very dark. I felt very dark. Yeah. And I think feeling so low, getting so low, hitting so rock bottom was so important because I got really clear about what I didn't want to do. Yeah. And I didn't know what was next, but I thought it's better that I don't know what's next. Better to be in the I don't know of that than to live in this.
I better I work on something where I can really show my stuff.
So I basically said, I'm done.
Okay, wow, that's great.
I told my agents, I'm done. I told everybody I know I'm leaving LA. I found a class in how to make documentary films up in San Francisco. I remember it started in the catalog. I had a catalog for the Film Arts Foundation in the Bay Area. I knew I could live either with my mom. I ended up like sleeping on my friend Jenna's sofa for 3 months. I knew I could just go there. I just needed a place to land and get my bearings. I started looking for work, waiting tables. And I was taking a class in how to make documentary film. And I was the happiest I had ever been. I started running every day. No one was telling me what to eat.
Such a weight off your shoulders. Even though
oh my God. And not being the actress anymore. It was so much easier than I thought. Like, what are you? I don't know. I'm figuring it out. I'm studying documentary film.
Get off that mad little train, because the best thing is, fuck it, you might not know where you're going or what you want to do, but the most important thing is at least you know what you don't want and what you're not like. And it's like, get rid of that. The rest of it, whatever. But at least that's more important than knowing what you want to do, is knowing what you don't want to do.
That's exactly it, Ian. That's exactly it. Because then I was in the I don't know. I mean, I was taking courses in doc film. They were, it wasn't film school. It wasn't expensive. It was a great community. I was interning on a documentary film. And it was a good thing for it to happen to me when I was 30, because it taught me to trust the I don't know.
Yeah, well, of course.
And to sort of see, And so there I was, looking for work, waiting tables, sleeping on Jenna's sofa. And I get a call from my friend Leslie in Paris. Remember my friend Leslie that I was introduced to by the regulars at La Carta restaurant who owned the map store. So Leslie from Paris, she calls me, goes, Justine, I have a friend, Ian Cross. He's an Australian producer, and he's trying to put together a new TV series called Lonely Planet. Do you mind if I put him in touch with you? And I was like, Leslie, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be on camera anymore. I'm done. I don't want to do it. I don't want to audition.
You don't want to be on camera?
She was like,
outrageous. I never thought I did.
I really didn't. I really didn't. I hate having my picture taken. It's so funny, I remember the first time I got an 8x10 glossy of me. I had to get, when you're an actor, you have to 8x10s. And the first one I got, I don't know, I was like 17, 16. And the first thing I showed it to an adult in my life, and she goes, oh, your nose looks kind of big. And like, ever since then, I was hold on. I have a big nose.
Who did you show it to?
I can't say.
I mean, who says that? It's not even usual. Have you had a nose job?
No, God, no. I haven't done anything. You can see my eyelids are coming over my eyeballs.
I was thinking, well, you must have a nose job if you had such a horrendous nose. It doesn't look. I don't even never noticed it. Oh God,
women can be awful.
I'll tell you what, you're not wrong there, gal. With blokes, we're like, boo, boo, boo. Yeah, all right, we're mates now. Women, psycho. It's easy to be a bloke.
So
anyway, go on, big nose.
So my friend Leslie says, Ian Cross, this Australian, is trying to put together this TV series, travel show called Lonely Planet. And I was like, well, I know Lonely Planet. I used Lonely Planet. So Leslie says to me, so look out for a call from Ian Cross. I was like, all right. So Ian Cross calls me. It's like, and he says, Leslie gave me your number.
Yeah.
I'm putting a show together. We're going to go round the roundabout together. Around and around and around.
So that's us Australian viewers gone. Yeah, thanks a lot.
So Ian Cross calls me and he says, putting together this travel show called Lonely Planet. I'm looking for an American. And Leslie said, you might be interested. Wow. And I was like, I don't. And I said to him, I don't really want to be on camera anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm leaving acting. I'm
not doing it anymore. What? Traveling around the world.
That's how it felt. It really felt like that.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it was like quitting a really bad habit. Like saying no to the agents meant no more auditions.
I can't believe
no more. Maybe this one will be the break. Maybe that one will be the break. So Ian says to me on the phone, we're putting together a travel show, Lonely Planet, and looking for an American. And Leslie said, you might be interested. And I said, honestly, I don't want to be on camera anymore. I don't want to be told what to wear or how much to eat. And he said, we're not looking for a model. We just want a person.
I've seen your picture. You got a nose like a mountain. We're not looking for a model.
So he said, well, can you send me, an audition tape? And I was like, look, all I have is the reel that I did for my acting. You can look at that. Right. It's got my Storyville scene. It's got a commercial I did for the phone company.
4th row center. You're right, the blue one was all wrong.
It's the sound of an ending relationship.
Oh, I know. Let's see how it looks.
He was like, we don't want that. Can't you get someone with a camera just to, walk around, talk to people?
Brilliant.
I was like, oh, God. So I knew one person in L.A. who had his own camera, Chaz. He lived down in Laguna Beach. He was like, yeah, come on down, Justine. We'll shoot something. I've got, we set on a day. I drive down there. It's overcast. I mean, Laguna Beach is usually just absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Right? Overcast, raining, not many people about. So basically, he filmed this thing of me talking to people and walking around. It was absolutely shit.
Laguna Beach is an oasis that lies in the middle of an urban sprawl that stretches from Los Angeles to San Diego. And while summer in Los Angeles can mean days of 90-degree blistering heat, Laguna rarely reaches 75, and the lack of pollution is a breath of fresh air.
You have to cut that part out.
Oh no, we love it.
So the crap show reel. What did you actually do? And why was it so crap?
So Ian said to me, just talk to the camera and, talk to people around you. That's all. And I was like, okay. So that's what I did in the clip. I do some pieces to camera where I look really uncomfortable.
And here you'll find the canyonlands that are some of the most undeveloped in all of Southern California. And what's unique about these canyons is they're like an oasis here. Animal life and the plant life are unique in that they haven't been destroyed. And there's not a lot of roadkill because there aren't a lot of freeways. And the flowers and the trees are just absolutely divine. And if you're insane, you'll eat some of the berries and you'll get dehydrated and go crazy. And then things will really start looking terrific.
I was so uncomfortable because I'd never done a piece to camera before. I'd done acting, and I liked acting because you have a script and, you're interacting with people. But this was the first time I'd ever spoken to camera.
Well,
and
as you.
That was very weird for me.
Yeah, I bet.
And, but when I saw people, they were easy for me to talk to. I mean, I didn't give it a second thought. And I saw this guy and his girlfriend, and he was full on like, he looked like Ken to her Barbie. It was like Ken and Barbie.
Okay.
And I was like, I got to talk to them.
What would you tell a tourist from another country to do?
Go drink a beer and just kick back. Just watch people. It's a great place to watch people.
I just talk to people pretty easily. I figure if they shoot me down, that's fine, but I take the risk, And so I guess what I heard from, I think, Ian was, or maybe it was Angie Gorley, because Angie Gorley was his producer. And I think Angie Gorley said to me, what we liked about the tape, Justine, is that you were really easy with people. You were good with people.
Okay.
And I was like, well, is it everybody?
No.
Do you like that in Los Angeles there's all different kinds of food and music?
Right, and people, knowing that it's like a microcosm of the whole, not only the United States, but of the world. They have 70-something languages spoken, they have radio stations, they have TV stations, cable.
So the cultural diversity is something positive, but it's also creating a lot of conflict, it seems.
I think so, but more so in the, in the working class you know, because people will always try to find a scapegoat.
Right.
So they say immigrants this, or Latinos that, or Mexicans that. And in reality, you know, these people that are enriching. If it wasn't for a lot of these people coming here, California itself, the United States itself would have been down already.
So you have such a positive attitude, the way you see things.
Right. Yeah, thank God. You know, I always have to have, because if you're negative, I mean, what can you do? Everybody's negative. Most of the people are negative. You have to be positive. And it's not just for California or the United States, for the world, you know?
So Chaz shoots this rubbish video of me in overcast Laguna Beach. I take it to some lady at some edit studio, and she chops it together. I sent it to Ian. Did not think about it again. It was the one and only audition I ever did that I sent it, done. Finished, didn't think about it.
And I bet he didn't get back to you for months.
3 months later, I get a phone call. Vietnam, I want to go to Vietnam. And I was like, okay.
Oh, mate, I love that. Want to go to Nam.
I've been here now for about 12 hours, and it still feels kind of strange, the whole idea of it, an American going traveling in Vietnam.
And Vietnam was the first episode of the series, and it was Leslie's producing. So Leslie Weiner, my friend from Paris, she was producing the Vietnam episode.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's handy.
Jez Hyam was the director, and Simon Niblett was the camera. And in this shoot, Simon Niblett. In this shoot, Simon was the camera and sound.
Of course.
At this point, it was a bit smaller crew. And he said, Leslie's producing, and we're going to get there February 3rd, 1994. That was the first day of the shoot, February 3rd, 1994. And that was actually the day that President Clinton in the United States lifted the embargo. So Vietnam really wasn't much of a tourist destination at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did the phone call go? He didn't say, "Oh, you've got," is that Justine? "Oh, you got the job, the Lonely Planet job as the presenter. We're going to go to Vietnam." He just said, "Oh, do you fancy going to Vietnam?" Because that
sounded very non-committal.
Yeah, I know. But how did you feel? I mean, when I went for the interview and he told me exactly that, he didn't even say he got the job. He just showed me a video, went, "Oh, this is the sort of thing you'd be doing in Brazil, mate." And I was like, hold on, whoa, have I got the job? And he was like, "Oh, yeah. Anyway, look, see this guy here? Can you imagine yourself doing a bit of that?" And I'm like,
yeah, I thought it was just Vietnam. I didn't think, oh, you're going to be presenting this show for the next, 20 years of your life. Yeah. It was just Vietnam. And the idea of the show at the time was that the presenter wasn't supposed to speak to camera.
Oh,
I was told, don't talk to camera, Justine. The camera will be observing you as you are traveling around Vietnam.
Who did you talk to then?
That was the remit from The Office. That was from Ian.
I like it. But so you'd be like, "Wow, here I am. Oh, Brazil looks good. I'm in Brazil," like a nutcase.
I think
talking to themselves.
You know what I think it is?
I'm going to try one of these. They look good. Oh yeah, how much? They're probably about $15. I might. It's this. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. They wanted to see me talking to people, but they didn't want me talking to camera.
Yeah, but okay. Anyway, that's all fair enough because it was at the beginning and nobody knew. It was an organic process. So, I can see that trying to make that work.
But also, I think they probably noticed in my audition tape how shit I was at speaking to camera.
Yeah, but let's employ around there. I mean, yeah, that's hilarious, that is.
And the other idea they had was, you can see it in the Vietnam show, they said, well, we want to make sure that we always know it's going to be you because there's all these people everywhere. It's a busy place, Ho Chi Minh City. We're going to tie a red bandana on your head so that we always can track you. We know where you are. And I was like, I'm in a sea of Vietnamese people. I'm like the one white girl in a sea of Vietnamese people. We took that one off after a while. But you can see I'm wearing like a traveler's vest, one of those kind of flak jacket vests.
You're just like an arm. You're just as an army. I'm in Nam, man. Great.
It was like the only association I had with white people in Vietnam was either journalists or military. And I figured I was thinking, okay, this is a kind of journalist job. Maybe this Lonely Planet thing is kind of like journalism. Yeah. That's what I thought. I wasn't quite sure.
Well, you weren't told too much. I wasn't told too much. I had a balloon attached to me so they could catch me big with an arrow pointing down. Ian written on there. Yeah. Wow. But Vietnam, that's quite an interesting place to go for your first one. The embargo had just come out because. How do people treat you there? I can't imagine you getting any aggravation or any animosity at all.
Oh, there was a very big difference in how we were treated when we were in the South and when we were in the North.
Wow.
In the South, they were used to seeing Americans, and they had worked with the Americans, and the guerrilla fighters were in the North, and when we went to the North, people were really, really cold.
Hanoi is a city where people are more conservative, more resistant to reform, and not as distracted by tourists. By contrast, in the South, you're often greeted with a thumbs-up sign in the words, "America, #1." In Hanoi, people seemed more focused on their work than on me.
I was kind of amazed. I was nervous to tell people in Vietnam that I was American.
Yeah.
And I found in the South, people were really receptive to that. Yeah. They would sort of practice a few words of English. There was no animosity at all. I remember being on some rice paddies with a old Vietnamese woman, like the classic National Geographic picture with their wide-brimmed straw hat, pulling rice in the rice paddy. And she smiled at me and I smiled at her and she pointed to me. And I thought, okay, I just want to see what happens to her face when I tell her this. So she smiles at me and she points to me and I say, America, America, United States. And she was like, very kind, welcoming, smiling. That didn't happen in the North.
Okay, wow.
The more serious travelers speak with excitement about journeying to the Northern Highlands and the hill tribes that live there. These highland areas are among the most linguistically and culturally diverse in the world. Word of a visitor soon got round, and the village life I'd really come to see came to a standstill. I had the impression that strangers as strange as me were not to be missed. In the remote hills of Lao Cai, so far and so different from the place I call home, I found people who had never heard of America, never mind the war. To travel any further north would take me into China, but that would be another journey.
But anyway, I got the job, not looking back. How did you get the job?
It was luck and fate. It's like you say about what was the expression about falling into a job, or what luck is?
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the preparation, you don't know you're doing it. So, exactly. And the opportunity is you don't know till it comes. So they're all quite spontaneous. And luck is that you're out there, opening yourself up for whatever might come. If you don't do anything, you sit back in your room and just play PlayStation or something, nothing's going to happen. But if you're out there chatting to people, you don't know what that can be, but you're susceptible to opportunities and people. So I've always been a monkey, I suppose. So there was always a bit of that going on. Just fun. We'd always mess about and stuff like that, and a complete fucking pain in the arsehole. So it was like, a couple of two things. I didn't do drama at school or anything like that, but my English was so terrible, yeah, that apparently I've got dyslexia, but who cares? Because it just means that I'm not good at English. I'm not good at maths. But so what? I'm good at art. I'm good at this. I'm good at drawing. I'm good at expressing myself in other ways. So it's not a hindrance, It's not like now if you've got dyslexia, it's like you got cancer or something, and it's like, oh my God, what terrible! How can you get on with this world? Here's some money and there's a computer. But I'm from a different generation, so you're just good at you hone skills in other things. So I was in the lowest English group, but I then started a drama. There was a local theatre group which I joined anyway because that was fun. And this is my Shakespeare story, because we never did Shakespeare or nothing like that. And I never understood it. It was all too, and it was all too grand. And I was in the class, and the guy came in and said, oh, Ian, do you want to come down? The Royal Shakespeare Company have come to our school, and they're going to there's about 4 of them, and they're going to do a 10-minute little workshop. And I was like, and they were, well, because you do drama at this place, I was like, bloody hell. So I got, I didn't have to do the class anymore. So I went along to the library to do this thing, and there was these 4 guys. I think it was like it was Henry IV or something. But for the first time, it was like that's where I got my love for Shakespeare, because it was just like, my God, when it's done well, that's why he's so genius, because the dialogue that he uses between characters and humans is exactly how we speak, how I talk to you, with the little intricate things, the little sneaky, snidey bits, the wonderful bits. Since then on, I was like, my God, I'm going to have to get a lot of this Shakespeare action. I just love it. So anyway, I digress. So I was that was my Shakespeare bit. Loved it.
Did you ever do a Shakespeare
we did.
monologue?
When we did.
And how did you learn your lines if you're dyslexic?
Because you learn it like a parrot. You repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Yeah. That's, once you might be crap at reading, but I love reading, but it just takes me ages to read something. It just takes a longer time to soak it all in. I can't, but once you've read a sentence, you have it in your head 3 times, and of course you've got it. That's nothing to do with dyslexia in a way. That's a technique. So anyway, I did a bit of theatre in Ipswich. Then I was doing a lot of art.
And did you have an aspiration to go to university after that?
Not at all. Never had any ambition or aspirations in my life. I still haven't. I never had. Or the only thing that I wanted to do was paint and draw and do art. That's the only thing that I ever. As long as I keep that going, hopefully everything else will come into play. So work-wise, the only time I had an aspiration, because I did a paper round, so you get up at 7 in the morning, and you go out and do the round for half hour, then go back. If you're back by 8 and cook a bit of breakfast for everyone. That's why I got into old bikes, anything with metal brakes. That's a different story. So the last year, you go down to the local hospital selling papers on the ward. So that was and he had a little thing, and everyone was like, so for the first time ever, I wanted to be a hospital porter. That's the only job that I've ever wanted.
A hospital porter?
Yeah, because they just look like fun.
That?
A hospital porter is the porter that goes around, getting all the equipment, taking it to the wards, people wheelchairs, wheeling them around. They're just like a dog's body that did everything. So you just wander around doing everything, meeting people and stuff like that. I thought I could do that job. That's about the only time I ever had an ambition to do something, a hospital porter. Anyway, so I did. The good thing about it is that my parents never hassled me, because I'm going to art school. What, in their head, and to most people, what a complete waste of time. Why would you, stupid, nonsense.
And expensive.
At that time, no, because you got a grant from the government and you had to top that up. So most of your fees were paid, and then you'd get a small allowance, but then you had to work to top that up. So that was the glory time. What a brilliant thing to do, to go. So I went to London, moved to London for the age of 18. This was a small college in Keddington, South London, where it was mainly art and restoration. People working, tapping away. But there was nothing because there was only about 250 students in the whole college. There was nothing to do but work, nothing to do. And it was just brilliant. Every day you could do life drawing. There was a life drawing and you could go into any class and do it. At the weekends I'd go in, after school you could stay. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just art. It's just, and also I realised that I just don't want to, because I was on a painting course, there's no point in just doing painting all the time because I can do that when I leave. So I went into other departments to learn printmaking, to learn welding, learn sculpturing, like drawing all the time. So it was an eclectic thing of everything. So that's what my work is. It's an absolute eclectic, different medias all the time for whatever I want to do. But the mad thing is when I moved to London, I wanted to do drama as well. I thought, and this is the sliding doors moment, there's a guy who was a tutor at my college. He had an exhibition in Hull, which is, up north a bit. And so it was like, we're leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And I was like, oh, I really can't be bothered. It's a long way to go. And I was like, no, come on, you've been lazy. Get off your ass and do it. So I went on the coach. When I got to Hull, there was another friend of mine that was at college there. So I went to see him and I picked up an application form for this organisation that was called Operation Raleigh.
Operation Raleigh, an around-the-world expedition which has sent thousands of young people to live and work with remote communities all over the world. Its aim? To give young people the chance to take part in adventure, scientific and community projects.
Probably follow some of the rivers over.
You went abroad with a bunch of kids for 3 months to live and do medical things, do the construction thing to help people as well. And so I picked that application form, sent that form in and got accepted and went to Guyana and South America for 3 months, which was just insanity. 100 kids, just fly them out there, running around the jungle, just absolute madness. I just loved every minute of it. It was just...
How old were you then, like 20?
I was about 21 by then. And it was just, oh, man. But the reason why I brought up the trip about going to Hull, like things that change your life, but also, in a way, it was a double whammy. One, I picked up the application form. Plus, I met this girl on the coach who was doing drama in the East End London.
She was in a drama group.
In a place called Hoxton Hall. Yeah. And I was like, so I was like, brilliant. I said, I did a bit of drama. I really enjoyed it. And she was like, well, we're going to be meeting again in about 3 months. So why don't you come along? It's a community centre in the East End of London. That's where I met Mickey, a friend of mine that I still see now, best mate ever, that I still see, and helped me do the video for the show reel for Lonely Planet. So I met him that night, and other friends that I still see now. That was a life changer and a lifesaver in a way, because there was once I got in there was so much to do, so much to learn. That's why I started teaching art and kids clubs and stuff like that, going on residentials with kids, taking them out of London, to places in the country where they'd never seen live animals before. They think that all food comes from tins and vegetables, and they hadn't seen darkness like that in their lives at all. Plus me and Andy and a mate there, we ran the cafe bar, plus doing drama all the time. We were always in plays. I think our record was like 5 plays in 2 weeks, because everyone was like, because we'd be doing drama, we'd be doing art downstairs, just everything to do with it. Like the adult drama would come and go, look, we're short of 2 soldiers we need at the back. And then, so it'd be like, yeah, I've just finished washing up. Then we're on the stage, hey, stop that, or I'll get you. Get back to washing up, get the cups of guts, and then it'd be like, what now? Oh, just a dead person on the stage for an hour. At the time when I was there, Hoxton Hall was like an old school community centre. It was like where people from all walks of life just somehow be washed up there. You know, there'd be like a rainbow, which is a disabilities group that were all everywhere, and they were always the best shows because anything happened at any time in one of their productions. Oh, it was crazy. And then there'd be that adult drama, there'd be music there'd be kids club, there'd be art, pensioners clubs. One time we welded up all these bikes that we found downstairs and made them into choppers and went to festivals doing jousting with like big sticks with boxing gloves on the end. And remember, we did it down local and someone was like, "That's my bike! They've welded my bike! I only left it at the hall for a week!" We're like, keep going. It was just crazy. It was a crazy place. Organic. At that time, it just worked so well. It was just a brilliant place to be. That's where video guy Tom, who was the teacher, got me and Mickey and everyone into doing videos. So that's the first time that we, you know, started to learn about how to be in front of camera, how to make things. You know, it'd be a big VHS. You know. And so we would make our own stupid little videos, you know, and you knew things that worked. So it was just so I enjoyed doing all that. And yeah, that's where I met my wife at the community centre. Wow, she came in to do art class, and I'd never seen anyone that was so good with kids and so brilliantly creative and just like that. And she was just shocking and gorgeous and sexy. Yeah, lovely. God, man. Yeah.
So how did all of that get you onto Lonely Planet?
Because I was doing lots of art and stuff like that. And me and Mickey wanted, the best mate I was talking about, we wanted to do lots of videos. And we needed excuses to make. Sometimes it's nice if someone's got a brief and gone, "Oh, look, there's why not do that?" And then you're like, "Oh, yeah. So I was sitting in my front room and the woman Crow said to me, "Oh, look, there's an advert in The Guardian. Lonely Planet presenter wanted, no experience needed, just send in a show reel." See, these days you do it on your phone in half an hour. And in them days, you didn't have the equipment. So luckily we had the VHS. So me and Mickey did a complete and utter piss tape. Because I knew, the mad thing was, Justine, I knew, although I'm sending this joke, because that job is the most absurd thing in your life. You look at that and you're like, there's no way on God's earth am I getting that job. It's just bullshit. But I'm going to do a fun video and send it in anyway because it'll be a laugh. And also I knew that the first 10 seconds of any show reel is the most important thing. Anything else almost doesn't matter. I've seen show reels and you know after 10 seconds really whether they're good enough for the job. And so my first one is I've got all my bags, I'm walking in Liverpool Street, and then I trip over, all my bags go and hit my head against the camera and do the open piece to camera.
The first thing you notice on arrival is the intense heat. It hits you as soon as you get off the airplane. And boy, is it hot here.
Mickey's dressed as like a guard, and he's like, give me a passport, where's your visa?
Oh, is that Mickey playing the customs officer?
Yeah, he plays everything. And he's like, I'm like, I've got a visa. And he slaps me, no visa, out.
There's a competent visa system on every single border crossing. So what you waiting for? Come on. No visa, out.
And then the rest of it, as you can see, just silly.
The black market thrives in a city like this. And obviously the exchange is much better than the legal rate. But a word of warning, you do it at your own risk. Because... Wait! Fuck! What are we going to do? Well, now we're here, we might as well taste some of the local delicacies of the country. Get some food from this market stall. Yeah, we're just filming for TV. Could we have a selection of your local food? Say again, Governor? Just a selection, you know, you pick one. Come again, man. I think I understand the problem here. This is where your local phrase book always comes in handy. If you haven't got one, pick it up at the airport before you leave. Go by me, governor. Could I have myself some apples and pears for me lovely, grubbly, bubbly, for ladies, mate?
Sorted, my son. Here we go. Got a nice tank there. A few back there. Quite well. A few bunches there. All right, my son. That's going to score, please, mate. That's lovely. Cheers, mate. All right, on your way. Have a nice time. See you later.
Most people sending in their videos who want the job makes you tighter. When you want something, you go tight and you think, oh, God, what do they want? I've got to try and outthink them and think what they want to see. Whereas the best way to be is like, fuck it, I'm doing what I want to do and you take it or leave it. Otherwise, there's no point. So send it in. But like you, sent it in and then didn't...
To Ian Cross?
Yeah, to Ian Cross in London, but didn't think anything about it. Then he rang up. Oh, I think they sent me a letter. Saying, oh, could you come in for an audition? And that's when I really shit myself, because I thought, I can't, if I go into audition, which is, I'm going to freeze. I'm not going to, if I can't be spontaneous or whatever, if I have to read from a script, this is me. Oh, hello, here we are in London. There's some great things going on. There's a guy over there who's got a monkey. Can we see the monkey? That's, I wouldn't, because I can't do it. I can't read from a script and then do it. So I went to the auditions in London, same office as you went to. And I don't think Ash was there, but she comes into the story. And I went and he said, oh, yeah, this is what you'd be doing when you go to Brazil. And I'd be like, well, because he was showing me a video of some guy that he'd filmed like a pilot. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, have I got the job? And he's like, yeah, you got the job, mate. But, still, you think you'd be able to do all this? And I'm like, yeah. When I come out, I was fucking shaking like a leaf more than I went in. I was like, and it was so ambiguous. I said, people were like, did you get the job then? I'm like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I thought, oh, geez. And then I didn't hear again for another 2 months. So I just even forgot about it, didn't I? I was like, it's too nuts.
And did Ian Cross say how amazing your audition tape was?
Of course he didn't. What I learned later, like you talk about Angela Corley, she's just the bollocks. Anyway, this is the real story. So you're right. He didn't say anything about myself because in reality, he didn't want me. I was forced upon him by other people. So the reality...
Ian Cross didn't want you as the presenter of Lonely Planet.
No, not at all. Who is this bloody, monkey? I don't want him. What happened? So when I sent in that show reel, there was about 3,000 show reels being sent in, which is quite a lot considering, the equipment there.
I had no idea.
And Angie, she was going through the reels and they were all a bit boring. They'd got a few out because they had the Channel 4 bosses, the English channel, come in to see the next day who was appropriate to do the travel show. Anyway, she saw mine because it was a breath of fresh air because she's seen so many boring, here we are in Camden. Oh, sunglasses. Good on you. She put my show reel on and she said it just really made me laugh.
How much you got them off? 25. 25, there you go, all right. All right, come on, there's more. All right, my son. Yeah, there you go. All right? Yeah. Is that nice? Yeah. Nice big love there. All right, my son, see you later. Hey, hold on. 25 quid there. Right, well, you see all this, my son? You see all this? There you go. Right. This is yours. You've been knocked, mate.
She said, oh, it's so funny. She said, but it wasn't appropriate for the show. So she put it in the drawer to show her mates.
Oh, so she didn't think to even show it to Ian Cross?
No. And so when the Channel 4 people come in the next day...
To the pilot office?
Yeah, to see what the audition tapes, to choose the presenter... Crossy had about 4 or 5 tapes of presenters and put them all in, and they were just like, nah.
They watched all 4 or 5 that he
or probably,
gave
I don't
them.
know what number was, but they were like, not so sure. Anyway.
So let me get this. So this is Pilot Films, the production office, and in it there's Ian Cross, Angie Gorley from Pilot, and then you've got the Channel 4 bosses.
Yeah. So casting
the British presenter.
Yes, yeah. So they couldn't decide who, and they didn't really like the presenters that Ian Cross had done. And Anyway, Ian crossed the phone call, so he went to his office to make a phone call or take a phone call. Angela was sitting there, couldn't think of anything to say too much, so chatting to the two executive producers, Channel 4, and she said, I'll tell you what, have a look at, she opened up the drawer and said, have a look at this one. It's not chosen, it's just really funny.
If you're not quite used to the rich foods of the country, I suggest that you pace yourself. Let your digestive system naturally adjust. Excuse me.
And they loved it, and they said, that's your man. They said, if you don't use him, you don't get the series. We love him. And that was it. So imagine how pissed off Crossy was, Ian Cross, when he comes out from his office, they go, oh, we found one of the presenters. He's like, oh, mate. So
had he even seen that tape?
No, not at all. So I was forced upon him, and then I got the phone call saying, come, you know.
You got the job.
Yeah,
Brazil.
We're going to Brazil. Come in we're having a little meet in a party, meet the producer, which is Rachel Heaton Armstrong. Lovely girl. Anyway, I went to the party, and I didn't know anyone, and
there was a party that they had, like a launch party.
Yeah. But I was meeting the gang, and as soon as I got in there, everyone fucking hated me, and the looks, and everyone was just like, oh man, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a tough one. But you know, the director came up to me and talked, and he was bloody lovely. He was really nice, so he put me at ease, and I was like, thank God. And then I went over to Crossy and Crossy's wife,
Ian Cross.
And she was sweet. But and Rachel Heaton Armstrong, who was the producer of Brazil, they all disdain in their eyes, and I knew it. And I was like messing about, and Rachel said, well, have you got everything for Brazil? You know, we're going to be doing walks, so you're going to have walking boots. You know, you've got to have, you know, your money back. The rucksack's a real sturdy one because you're the traveller, and, you know, a few clothes, stuff like that. And I was like, Rachel, do you need a passport to go to Brazil? And she was like, nearly had a heart attack. I was right. I'm like, we're joking. I'm joking. I'm like, me and you are not going to get on, are we? I'm like, oh. But the mad thing about me is, like, I panic a bit before, and then 2 days before, I don't give a shit. I'm like, hold on, why are you worrying about anything? You know, the worry is you're paying so much money, flights, everything, a month's filming in Brazil, doing everything on a monkey that doesn't know whether he can do it. And I'm just like, God, there's so much pressure. I don't know what to expect. I've never done anything like this in my life. It's gonna go down like a ton of bricks. But 2 days before, I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, hold on, wait, sir. I'm going to spend 4 weeks in northeast Brazil, for God's sake. It's like, even if it's the worst thing in the world, you cannot take 4 weeks of me travelling in Brazil away from me. I would have been there. I was just like, yeah. So on there, I just don't care.
A couple of weeks ago, my only knowledge of Brazil was that they drank a lot of coffee and Pelé lives here. I think I've got a lot to learn.
But anyway, yeah, there I was. That was my job. Lonely Planet Like You. Insane.
I'm coming to the end of my travels in Brazil, and in a month, you can only hope to skim the surface. But the best thing about it for me has definitely been the people. And it's a bit of a shame that my journey ends here, at the mouth of the Amazon, because there's just a teasing glimpse of a completely different Brazil out there.
I'll tell you what it was. What really changed it was I came back from Brazil, 5 days rest, and went straight to Morocco, which was insane. And then in Morocco, Jez Hyam, who you had as the first one, he vision of using me, he'd just wind me up and send him off, mate. Watch him go. And just send me off in situations. And just I'd be messing about with people and just having a laugh, and that was it. Ian Crossy and Pilot Productions had obviously a lot of money from Discovery Channel and Channel 4.
And I think Australia.
But still, what I think's fantastic about his vision and the way it was still organic. Still had no idea how things might, he's got the meat and everything, but how that works itself out with people like me and you, never done telly before in their lives, don't got a clue what we're doing, but he wanted that fresh approach to everything, is commendable. And lucky that commissioners go, yeah, get him on. I don't know what he's going to do, but if we were for try, give her a go. Isn't that
Globetrotter
phenomenal?
I mean, right. I mean, the show Lonely Planet, later called Globetrotter, it wasn't scripted. It was one of the only things on television where the presenters weren't scripted.
Yeah, which for me was just like, this is a joke. It's like, hold on, someone's going to come and get me soon and go, all right, joke's over, you've had a good run. And I'll be like, yeah, well, I got away with 4 shows. Hey, you found me. Because it's like, hold on, I don't have to learn super scripts. I just turn up and be a monkey and mess about in front of the camera, and you pay me for it, and I go to the best places in the world, do the most amazing things, meet the best people in the world. That's just insane.
It's my last afternoon, and I'm spending it here, right on the beach. You do nothing but relax. Ooh. And I must admit, Morocco hasn't been half the hassle that I thought it would be. I mean, it's still taking its toll out on me. But then again, I've only seen about that much of this great place. I think I'm going in the water.
So season 1 comes to an end, and after you watch part 2 of our season finale, we would like to bring you season 2. More episodes, more fun. And we hope you're going to help us make season 2 happy. Season 2 happy? To make season 2 happen, we need your help. And so we launched a Kickstarter campaign. Lots of great rewards starting at $15, and some of Ian's artwork is on the reward list.
Yeah, a lot of it. Woo!
The link is in the episode description, or you can just head directly to tinyurl.com/OLP season 2.
I've got a $5.
So head over to our Kickstarter campaign. You'll find great rewards. You'll help us make season 2, and you'll bring more joy into the world.
Yay! Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you for listening to Season 1, Episode 6, Part 1, Ian and Justine, How We Got the Best Job in the World. Hosts, Ian Wright and Justine Shapiro. Producer, Stephen Lenhoff. Editor, Gregory Sharpin. Sound mix, Dan Olmsted at Immersive Sound. This podcast was recorded at Cuckoo Studios in Berkeley, California, USA, and at Haverhill Music Hub in Haverhill, UK. Season 1 was made possible thanks to a grant from the Hoswervi Family Trust and from donations from many of you. I, Justine Shapiro, am the executive producer, and Lily Cortez is our series producer and director of social media and community. Gregory Sharpin is our senior editor and producer. Stephen Lenhoff directs and produces the podcasts, and Bree Castellini is our director of audience strategy and partnerships. Our editor is Thomas Lorne. Our website and media is managed by Sage Brusha, and our bookkeeper is Craig Paul. Our Looney Planet is produced by Matlana, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This podcast was produced in loving memory of Globetrotter producer Leslie Weiner.
We need you to make season 2. We need you to make season 2. We need you to make season 2. We need you to make
Sorry, stop. Sorry, I've just realised we just look like we're old 60-year-olds.
Making our loony planet a little less lonely, one podcast at a time. Yes, we do see the irony.